Hello students, you are welcome once again to the genetic series. Today we'll be looking at gene mutation and later genes. So what is mutation? Mutation is a spontaneous change in the chemical or structural makeup of the DNA of animals and plants, and it is the sudden appearance of a variant in a population, and this new variant is heritable and is transferable to the next generation. A mutation is a major source of genetic variability in animals, and there are two types of mutation. We have what is known as recurrent mutation and non-recurrent mutation. So it is recurrent when it occurs with a characteristic regularity, and it is common because the mutant, that is the gene that has been changed, keeps increasing in the frequency of the mutation at a fairly constant rate. So examples of recurrent mutation are found in a condition called albinism and also total color blindness, also in a condition known as hemophilia. So mutation is non-recurrent when it occurs at a very low frequency, and this type of mutation may produce one new gene in a very large population, and it's not always happening at a quick frequency. And because it occurs at a relatively low frequency, there's a very high probability of it being lost over the generations. Mutation proceeds in either direction, which will be forward or backward mutation. So the following are also types of gene mutation. We have what is known as point mutation, or any insertion or deletion entirely inside one gene. That is, the mutation is occurring at a particular point in the DNA. Then there's also the possibility of deletion of genes or just a gene in a chromosome. That is also referred to as mutation. There's also the possibility of missing of chromosome or the addition of extra chromosome. It's also a type of mutation. Now, gene mutation can happen spontaneously, or it can be induced through chemicals, radiations, or other environmental means. Spontaneous mutation occurs by changing the purine, that is genetic bases adenine and guanine, or the pyrimidines, that is thymine and cytosine bases, from the standard form to form their isomeric forms. Now, spontaneous mutation can also be further classified as missense or nonsense mutation. Missense mutation is a type of point mutation, and it leads to coding for different amino acid series. An example of a missense mutation in humans is the condition sickle cell anemia. Nonsense mutation, on the other hand, is also a point mutation, but the change in the genetic basis will lead to what is known as a stop codon. Now, a stop codon signals the termination or the translation process of the current protein that is being synthesized. So, a common example is thalassemia. Thalassemia is the inability to differentiate different tastes. There are other forms of spontaneous mutation, for example, those that are caused by deamination. and deamination is the removal of an amine group or those that are caused by alkylation. Alkylation is the addition of an alkyl group. There's also frame shift spontaneous mutation. Now, it must be noted that not all mutations are harmful. In fact, some of the development that happen in animals and plants are as a result of mutation. Animals mutate when faced with certain environmental or natural conditions that are harmful to it. They'll mutate to a form that will ensure their survival. However, some mutations can be dangerous. When mutation occurs, it can have a neutral effect or it will have positive effects on individuals that will inherit the mutated genes. Letter genes. So what are letter genes? Genes occur in pairs or alleles at positions or loci on the chromosomes. And each of these genes has a specific effect on certain phenotypes of the organism. Some genes also have what is known as a trophic effect, and this is a situation whereby a gene may have influence on more than one trait at the same time. Therefore, the effect of the gene will be of three types. A. The gene can have no effect at all, in which case it is said to have a neutral effect and is of no value in the phenotypic expression of the animal because it is adding nothing to the phenotypic value of the animal. Or B. The gene can have a negative effect. In this case, it affects adversely the phenotype of the individual animal. When a gene has negative effect, it is usually or normally selected against by animal breeders. C. The gene can have a positive effect. When a gene has a positive effect, it means that it has complementary effect and it influences significantly or positive changes in the phenotype of the individual. The greatest effect that the gene can have on an individual is to actually cause harm to it, damage it, or even lead to its death. When a gene is able to cause harm, damage an individual, or leads to its death, it is called a lethal gene, and the alleles that leads to this lethality are known as lethal alleles. And death caused by such lethals will be either during prenatal stage or at birth or at postnatal stage of development of the individual. So lethal genes are defined as genes or alleles of genes that can cause certain defects in the individuals, thereby reducing their genetic worth or productivity and also their ability to survive to reproductive age. Such genes will affect the ability of the animal to survive to reproductive age. And such genes or alleles can be described as either being semi-lethal or sublethal, depending on the degree of severity of their influence on the individual. Lethal genes could also include the occurrence of undesirable characters, which, even though their effect may not result in the death of the individual, but could cause reduced usefulness. So, for example, we have hernia or cryptorchidism in animals. Other examples of undesirable characters or effects in humans, for example, are cases of sickle cell anemia, cases of albinism, cases of hemophilia, and other genetic diseases. Now, the subletter genes are possibly more serious than the letter genes, and the reason is because these genes do not show their effect directly and are not noticed for a very long period of time. They are in the population, they go unnoticed, and they keep spreading, and yet they end up causing considerable economic damage in the population of animals. So letter genes could be recessive or dominant in terms of their influence. Now, the completely recessive letters do not harm for as long as they exist in the heterozygous state. But as the frequency of this gene increases in a population, segregation is likely to occur, but it will occur, and then the carriers will then be easily be detected. When the carriers are easily detected, then they can also be easily eliminated from the breeding program in a population. Then the segregation or the defects arising from the effect of letters in the recessive state will cease. Recessive letters are therefore more difficult to be eliminated from the genotype of a population because their effect is only felt in the recessive state. So they could be hidden in the population and keep multiplying, increasing in frequency and strength until they pop up their faces in one generation. So they may therefore exist in the population and keep reducing variability and yet will remain undetected. And that is a major reason for studying letter genes in farm animals because it helps us in avoiding the use of such animals for breeding purposes. It should be noted that it is much easier to eliminate dominant letters. This is because they show up very quickly in the population, and then we can avoid using such animals for reproduction. Dominant uh, alleles, that's the motile alleles, will only be expressed when they are also in the homozygote condition, unless it is sex linked. Letter genes can generally express themselves in various ways, and they may cause a slight or great changes in the phenotype of animals. And there are several examples of letter conditions in farm animals, each with its own varying effects. So in cattle, for example, you have a condition known as achondroplasia, which affects the skeleton. It's caused by a recessive gene. Agnesia artisae, in which the calf is born without an anus. We have congenital spasm, which is a nervous disorder. Amputated, that's the animal can be born amputated. Dwarfism, we have situations of deformed limbs. Mummification, hydrocephalus. Imparted monads, that is, it is born with fused bones of the mouth. Of course, you know that such a calf will not be able to feed and will eventually not be viable and dies. In sheep and goat, we have conditions such as letter grace or cryptorchidism. We've mentioned this earlier, and we explain it now as failure of one or both of the testes to descend from the abdomen into the scrotum. This will affect reproduction. We have situation of naked, meaning that the lamb or the kid is born without hairs. There's paralysis, there's cases of rigid fetlocks, tailless without a tail, yellow fat, perhaps cause that is being born with two pairs of ears. In poultry, we have situations such as creepers, we have congenital loco, congenital palsy maxilla, that is, the chick is born with deformed beak, crooked neck, dwarf, flightless, they are hatched without wings, sticky, the chick is hatched but still clothed with an amniotic fluid. All these conditions will affect the possibility of the chick from developing. In fact, creepers, when carried, because it's a dominant type of letters, they develop these dyes even before hatching. 2 to 3, 4 days post incubation, the effect comes into play and the chick will die in the egg. So it is very important that effects like this are detected very early in a farm so that the carriers are culled or removed and they are not used for breeding purposes, therefore limiting their ability to transmit their lethal genes to the next generation. And if they are able to call the animals out of the herd or the flock early because of the appearance of letters, it will seriously reduce the frequency of such undesirable genes or alleles and consequently increase the value or the worth of the flock or the herd. Nobody will want to buy animals from a farm, for example, that has been noted for having animals that carry lethal genes. And where animals carry lethal genes in the farm, productivity is highly impaired, and that will not be of economic benefit to the farmer. So we have come to the end of this short lecture on mutation and lethal genes. Kindly remember to subscribe to the channel, like the channel, share a comment so that we can interact together and share it with your friends. Have a good day.